So I'm here with Tim Heath, the Chief Winemaker of Cloudy Bay, Marlborough, New Zealand. They've achieved iconic status, in particular for their Sauvignon Blancs. But in fact, they make two styles of Sauvignon Blanc. So Tim, tell us about the two styles of Sauvignon Blanc you make.
Sure. So there's two very different approaches to Sauvignon at Cloudy Bay. I mean, there's one thing that we have in our vineyards is the potential to produce fruit with just lovely, expressive flavours, lots of citrus and sweet herbal tones and tropical tones, and that's really what the Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc is all about, which is the wine that I'd say most people would know from us. It's really an exercise in getting those vineyard flavours into the bottle and presenting them in a really clean, fresh fashion. The wine has lovely zesty acid. It's the wine that we've been making since 1985. And a lovely, balanced, elegant, yet intense and punchy expression of Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough.
So this is the real style that internationally now Marlborough has become famous for, this style of crisp, fruit-driven style of Sauvignon Blanc.
Exactly.
And this is the 2010 vintage that we're tasting now, isn't it?
That is. So just arrived about a week and a half ago to the UK, and I think a great vintage. It's a vintage that we saw lovely acid framework in the grapes, but real punchy, nice flavours, good intensity, and I think that really shows in this wine. It's a lovely expression of the grape and expression of the Marlborough Sauvignon. Then the other one that we make is we've called it Koko, which means essentially Cloudy Bay in Māori language, the Māori being the indigenous people of New Zealand. And it's a completely different beast. Rather than being about all of those upfront vineyard flavours and that punchy fresh fruit that Marlborough is well known for, I like to say that this wine, the Koko, tends to have more of almost a memory of the vineyard. It still has a good core of fruit in behind the other characters in the wine, but there's more in the wine than just simple fresh upfront fruit. And it's handled in a very different way. We're using wild yeast fermentation in old French oak barrels, and then 18 months in barrel, and then 18 months in bottle prior to release. And I mean, ultimately, really, what that's doing is building sort of complexity and texture into the wine and a savouriness into the wine in a nice hands-off fashion. And I get very different characters between the two wines. In the Cloudy Bay Sauvignon, I get nice sweet herbal tones, some black currant leaf, lots of zesty limey citrus, some punchy tropical flavours. Then Cloudy Bay to Koko, you get more characters like lemon thyme, nectarine, some ginger spice, pink grapefruit, dried herbs. It's a very, very different expression, and that sort of flows through onto the palate. It's more of a textured wine. It's got more weight and richness to it, which I think makes it an incredibly versatile food wine. And it's a bit of a nod in the direction of the old world winemaking regions like Sancerre really come to mind, and the wines of Pouilly-Fumé as well. So more of an earthy complexity to this wine, above and beyond that lovely primary fruit that we see in the Cloudy Bay Sauvignon.
When was the first vintage of the Te Koko?
Te Koko first vintage was 1996. Prior to that, there were some wines that were made in this style, and they were sold through Celador as a single vineyard expression. But really, since 1996, we've been making this wine. It's not a new wine per se to our lineup. It's part of the Cloudy Bay family. And I find it to just be a fascinating wine to make and great wine to drink.
This is the 2007 vintage that we're tasting now, isn't it?
It is.
The wine has really evolved over the years, though, hasn't it? I've really seen an evolution with the Te Koko wine. Yeah.
Sure. I think they're in a really nice space now. I think some of the earlier vintages were a little bit more obvious in terms of their use of oak. And I think these days we've got more of a balanced expression that presents the fruit quite nicely, but sort of on a stage of subtle old oak influence and other kind of I guess you could say, slightly funky characters, nice earthiness, linseedy characters, that sort of thing. So
really good food wine.
absolutely.
I mean, to give you an example, a couple of weeks ago I went for dinner at the Cloudy Bay chef's table at the Montague, which is at the Hyatt Hotel on Portman Square, and the chef there did a foie gras dish with apple and with truffle. And they served it with the Cloudy Bay Koko, and it was absolutely amazing. I was so amazed. It was delicious, and you know, to go with foie gras, it's quite a challenging dish, but it was absolutely sublime. Thanks very much, Tim.
No problems.